Okay, here we are in Merced, California on 4/25/2013, talking to my father, Joseph Large, about how we met Mom and got married.
I met your mother in Washington State, Seattle, or Paulsbo. She lived in a little town called Paulsbo. But I tried to pick up a couple of her girlfriends, and there was three of us guys, and they said, well, we need another girl. We'll invite you guys out to the house, but we'll need another girl out there for the other person. So they went ahead and had us out, and we went out and we horsed around in the living room, and finally it come bedtime and they went to bed, and they went upstairs and went to bed. We was downstairs, and they were up there talking. We could hear them talking, and the next day I told her I heard them talking up there. And she asked me what nationality I was, and I said I was French, German, and Irish. And she said, oh, that was good. And so I dated her a couple of times, about twice, I guess, after that. Then I left and went to Los Angeles. I stayed with Mom a while, and my sisters. I'd stay at their house or whatever, and then I'd write Dorothy a letter, and I used their address as a return. And she thought I had money. I fooled her, but she didn't know. So anyway, we wrote to each other for quite some time, and then I went to Alaska, and I wrote her a letter and asked her if she'd like to get married, and she said yes, she would. So I borrowed $200 from my cleaning lady that did my clothing uniforms, and sent it to Mom to fly up there. We got married by the United States Commissioner. It was a territory at the time, so we had to go to the post office to this commissioner. Gave him $10. He took us in a room and didn't even let Mom take her coat off. He jabbered off real quick like and said, I pronounce you man and wife. And then we went ahead and went to our little house that I'd rented. It was in the movie, as a matter of fact, one of John Wayne's movies where he went to Alaska, and they still had a sign on top of this. It was on the second floor we had, and it said Nome Hotel. And we stayed there quite a while. We didn't have any locks on the doors, and one night we were sitting down at the table eating, and all of a sudden the door opened up, and some Eskimo came in, and he had a bag of groceries. He set them on the floor, pulled out a chair on the other side of us, and he sat down, and he started just reaching over and picking up food with his hands, eating it, and we kind of looked at each other and what the hell's going on, you know. So the guy, he ate, and when he got through eating, he got up, picked up his bag, walked over to the door, left. Never saw him again. I don't know who he was. He never spoke to us. And then we had honey buckets, and Mom says, what happened? So I said, well, they come around and dump those, Eskimos dump those buckets. And she said, well, what if you're sitting in there and they pull it out? I said, I don't have any idea. I said, it's never happened to me. So about 2 weeks later, I come home one day and she said, well, I know what happens whenever you're sitting in there and they pull that bucket. I said, what happened? She says, I left the room real quick. And that was kind of funny, I thought. But then she didn't know how to cook too well at that time. And she fixed just about the same thing all the time, every day. Finally, after about 2 weeks, I said, well, we got to do something about this. So I bought her The Joy of Cooking book. I said, you start reading that. And by golly, she turned out to be one of the best cooks I've ever seen. And I still enjoy her cooking.